todo el mundo y bienvenido a mi canal. Yo me llamo Sirey. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada practicando las leyes criminales, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso de Richard Ferguson. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has a severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, you guys, I heard about this case relatively recently. And the first thing I thought to myself when I heard about this case was, did this take place in Texas or Florida? I just knew it had to be one of the twine. Why? Well, the facts were so peculiar to me, and the charging decisions here were so absurd to me. I felt confident in my decision that they were charged here in either Texas or Florida. And guess what? I was right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the case of Richard Ferguson. If you guys are familiar with The Breakfast Club, you've heard Charlemagne the God say the phrase that the craziest people in the world live in the Bronx and all of Florida.
What does your Uncle Charlotte always say about the great state of Florida? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
And I'm not stereotyping people to that extent, but I am stereotyping the lawmakers, the punishments, and the penalties that can be found in both Texas and Florida. So when I heard about the facts of this case, and then I heard about the charging decisions made herein, olvídate, I was like, this is Texas or Florida, coded 100%. On September 3rd of 2023, Richard Ferguson allowed his then 15-year-old son, named Ri'Shard Ferguson, to borrow his vehicle despite not having a valid instruction permit or a valid driver's license. Now, why did I say instruction permit and valid license? Well, because I noticed that most of the outlets here were harping on the fact that Ri'Shard didn't have a valid driver's license, and I don't believe you can get a valid driver's license until you're at least 16. Now, let's be clear here. Even if Ri'Shard had a valid driver's permit, he would still need to be accompanied by an adult who I believe has to be at least 21 and has a valid driver's license anytime he's operating a motor vehicle here. All that to say, he had neither, and none of those procedures were followed. According to the arrest affidavit in this case that I wasn't able to locate to be able to share with you guys, it looks like Richard gave Ri'Shard permission to use the vehicle just to do a quick errand. Along with Ri'Shard Ferguson for this quick errand were three of his underage friends, Elijah McKnight, Anthony Callins, and Jaden Joaquin. So here's where things get a little bit interesting. In order to allow Ri'Shard to leave in the vehicle that Richard was allowing him to borrow, Richard moved another vehicle out of the driveway to allow Ri'Shard to drive away in the family's 2012 white Chevy Impala. Okay, so it might be a surprise to you guys if you aren't the parents of teenagers, but to everyone else who's known a teen, been a teen, around a teen, near a teen, whatever a teen, it shouldn't be a surprise to you that instead of running that quick errand, the group of boys decided to do some other quick little detours. It is stated that part of those quick little detours included them going to another home, as well as going to a basketball court. Now, when the foursome finally got tired of ripping and running around town, they decided to make their way back to Ri'Shard's home. As part of the investigation here, a data download of the vehicle was conducted, by which they discovered that around 7 p.m., Ri'Shard was driving anywhere from 76 to 83 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. Because of his erratic driving, Ri'Shard actually ran a stop sign and ended up T-boning a gray 2022 Honda HR-V that was carrying a family of 5 inside. The HR-V turned onto one side and hit a pole, while Ri'Shard's car skidded off the road and ran into a ditch. So according to the data that I previously mentioned in the data download that they did of the vehicle, and according to multiple witnesses who were on the scene when this occurred, Ri'Shard did not brake, nor did he do any sort of evasive maneuvering in an attempt to stop the collision. So, back to the witnesses I just mentioned. When the witnesses ran over to attempt to help everyone that was involved, it said that Ri'Shard looked directly at the witnesses, asked if the family was okay, and if he was going to be going to jail for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, as a result of this collision, 4 of the 5 family members passed away. 50-year-old grandma Trinity Hernandez and her 11-year-old granddaughter Miley Cruz died instantly. 9-year-old Marvin Cruz and 1-year-old Anayari Hernandez died later after being transported to the hospital for assistance. As far as Ri'Shard, according to the arrest affidavit, it looks like Ri'Shard broke his leg, and some of his passengers also suffered injuries, but all of them thankfully survived. So here's where reporting differs. There's one article that I read that said when officers spoke to the teens, they told the officers directly that they had permission from Richard Ferguson to use the vehicle in order to get a belt. But in another article that I read, it stated that the teens were talking amongst themselves about the permission that was granted. A witness overheard them, and then the witness told the police because the teens refused to talk. Ultimately, both Richard and Ri'Shard were charged with 4 separate counts of manslaughter. Now, let me just be clear here. I assume that Ri'Shard got charged with 4 different counts of manslaughter, just like his father, because when I was watching coverage of this trial, it stated that their charges were identical. Anyways, that's of no moment for right now, because what ended up happening is this. Ri'Shard pled guilty to manslaughter. How many counts? I'm not precisely sure, but regardless, by virtue of his plea, there was an agreement with the prosecution that he would be incarcerated in juvenile detention up until his 19th birthday. And then when he was released, he would do an additional 2 years of supervision. The father, Richard, on the other hand, decided not to plead guilty and took his matter to trial. Now, why did I say that this was some Florida or some Texas shit? When I read through the case facts and when I saw this case and when I became apprised of it, I genuinely believe, as far as criminality is concerned, Texas and Florida are just generally harsher as opposed to some of the other states. So what I'm saying is this. I'm not sure if in another circumstance and in another state, the prosecutors of that other state would be so rushed or in such a hurry to charge the father for giving permission to the son. That's not to say they did anything wrong. By virtue of the statutes we're going to go through right now, it's an appropriate charging decision. But again, because Texas and Florida are so strict, I knew it had to have occurred in one of those 2 states. But let's carry on. According to Florida Revised Statute 782.07, subsection 1, the killing of a human being by the act, procurement, or culpable negligence of another without lawful justification, according to the provisions of Chapter 776, and in cases in which such killing shall not be excusable, homicide or murder, according to the provisions of this chapter, is manslaughter, a felony of the 2nd degree, punishable as provided by these separate subsections. So as I just stated, manslaughter is considered a 2nd degree felony. We're not going to go through the entire statute on that just to save us a little bit of time, but I'm going to let you know that in my review, a 2nd degree felony in Florida is punishable by a maximum possible penalty of up to 15 years per count. So Richard is charged with 4. That's 60 years total that he could be facing should he, not be successful at trial. But let's talk about something that's really important here, and which is the key to how the prosecution in this case could charge Richard, at least in my opinion. Florida Revised Statute 777.04 describes attempts, solicitations, and conspiracies, but I want to focus specifically on subsection 3. A person who agrees conspires, combines, or confederates with another person or persons to commit any offense, commits the offense of criminal conspiracy, ranked for the purposes of sentencing as provided in subsection 4. Okay, so why did I read that to you? Because in my view, the literal only way that Richard can be charged here is as a conspirator. Richard wasn't in the car. He wasn't erratically driving. He's not the person who caused the collision. He did none of that. But he allowed his son to use the vehicle knowing that his son was unlicensed. I believe that's the theory upon which the prosecution chose to charge him. Why do I feel like the prosecution here actually charged him? One, it's Florida. Sorry, you guys. And two, honestly, the gravity of the situation here, yeah, I get it. I do get it. He killed 4 people. He was driving erratically. He didn't do any evasive maneuvers to try to stop the collision. He did nothing. So I understand why Florida was looking for a higher level of culpability, but I'm not sure we would have seen a case of this nature arise in a state that weren't so harsh, if that makes sense. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, and if I didn't mention earlier, I'm mentioning it now. This trial was televised, or some of it was televised, and I was really enthralled with the testimony that I heard from some of the passengers that were in Ri'Shard's vehicle that night. So before I give you guys my opinions about it, let's hear from some of them directly. Let's start with Elijah McKnight.
Mr. McKnight, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
How old are you, sir?
17.
I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit louder. I know you get closer to the mic, that's good, but just speak a little louder when you speak so everyone in the court will hear you. You're not quite yet 18, but you understand that your testimony today, you're under oath, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that under that oath, if you were to not testify truthfully in court, there would be consequences. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you involved in a car crash back on September 3rd of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And were you the driver of that car when it crashed?
No, sir.
Who was driving that car when it crashed?
Richard
You know Ri'Shard's last name?
Ferguson.
How long have you known Richard Ferguson?
Since the 7th grade.
And back in 2023, do you remember what grade you were in?
9th grade.
So at that point in time, had you known Ri'Shard for about 2 or 3 years?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever met Ri'Shard's father?
Yes, sir.
Have you met him once, twice, multiple times? How would you describe it?
I say multiple times.
And do you see the person that you know as Ri'Shard's father sitting in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
You describe what he's wearing and where he is seated?
He's sitting in front of me. He has on glasses with a chain and a brown shirt.
At the time of the car crash, do you know what kind of car you were in?
No, sir.
Do you know whose car it was?
Yes, sir.
Whose car was it?
His father's.
And when we say his father's, whose father are you talking about?
Shards.
Let's talk about what was going on before the car crash. Where were you guys before you first got in that car?
At Richard's house.
And what were you doing at Ri'Shard's house?
Chilling and playing the game.
And how far is Ri'Shard's house from where you live?
At the time, it was like 3-minute drive.
And were your house and Ri'Shard's house both in Osceola County, Florida?
Yes, sir.
Who was with you at Ri'Shard's house that day?
Jaden and Anthony.
And was Ri'Shard also present?
Yes, sir.
What about Ri'Shard's parents? Were they home?
I remember his dad being there, but I don't think his mother.
And what was the plan while you were at Ri'Shard's house? Were you eventually going to go somewhere?
Yeah, we was planning on going to the movies that night.
And was the original plan to leave in Ri'Shard's dad's vehicle?
No, sir.
How did that happen?
Went to my house to change.
Who was driving the car when you guys left Ri'Shard's parents' house?
Ri'Shard.
Did Ri'Shard take the car without permission?
Objection, speculation. Call for speculation. Overall.
No.
How do you know that Ri'Shard did not take the vehicle without permission?
He was in his room. He left out to go ask his dad for the keys. And I guess his dad said yes.
Was his dad around when you guys got in the car?
He was sitting in the garage telling us to buckle up and stuff before we pulled off.
So did he, Mr. Ferguson, see you guys get in the car and drive off?
Yes.
Did he ever make any attempts to stop you guys?
No, he just told us to come straight back and stay safe and stuff.
When you got into the car, who else got in the car?
Jaden and Anthony got in the back seat,
Where were you sitting?
passenger seat.
And again, Ri'Shard was driving?
Yes, sir.
How old were you back then?
15.
Do you know how old Ri'Shard was back then?
15.
Did you have a license back then?
No, sir.
Do you know if Ri'Shard had a license back then?
Yes, I knew he didn't have a license.
When you all got into the car with Ri'Shard driving, was anyone else in the car, or was there anyone in the car who had a driver's license?
No, sir.
Was there anyone over the age of 21?
No, sir.
Where did you guys go when you left Ri'Shard's house?
I went to my house to go change.
And after you left after you went to your house, what did you guys do next?
We went to Anthony's house so he can change too.
And after Anthony's house, what did you guys do?
We were supposed to go straight back to his house, but we ended up going to the park.
Who made that decision?
Ri'Shard.
Was he driving at that time?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall what park you went to?
Deerwood Park.
And after you guys went to Deerwood Park, where did you guys go?
We left the park and made a right, and he was just speeding down the road.
And when you say he was speeding down the road, who are you talking about?
Ri'Shard.
Was he still driving at that point in time?
Yes, sir.
And what happened when he left the park and was speeding down the road?
I can't even remember. I had blacked out, but all I remember is he ran past the stop sign and everything just went black after that.
Okay, so based on what I told you guys, it is my opinion that the trial in this case and a conviction in this case, or convictions for each separate count, hinge on whether or not Richard gave Ri'Shard permission to use the vehicle. It's my understanding that his defense at trial was that he didn't give his son permission, but hearing from Elijah McKnight directly, yes, I was in Ri'Shard's home that evening, and yes, his father gave him permission. But I will do this. Let's be fair to defense in this case. On cross-examination, and I don't know if I'm going to play this clip for you because I don't want this video to be too lengthy, but should I choose to play it, you'll hear it directly from Elijah McKnight, but otherwise you'll hear it from me because I watched his testimony.
On the main question, you were in the car already before Mr. Richard Ferguson came out to the garage, correct?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if you were already in the car when Mr. Ferguson came out?
No.
Were you smoking marijuana that day?
No, sir.
Was there anyone else there who might have been?
No, sir.
Do you recall a smell of marijuana whatsoever?
Not at all.
Okay. Going forward, you said Richard told you he had permission. Ri'Shard said that his father gave him permission. You never heard Mr. Richard Ferguson give Ri'Shard permission, correct?
Correct.
You ever saw him hand him the keys?
No, sir.
He instructed you guys to back out of the driveway, and you guys then, proceeded to not just go to your house, go to another house, and then to Dearborn Park, correct? Or Deerwood Park?
Yes, sir.
And at any point, did you ever once hear anyone give you directly permission to drive that car and go to a second house, a first house, or Deerwood Park for that matter?
Objection, form.
Say it again.
I can rephrase it, yeah. At any point were you given permission to go to Deerwood Park or second house or even a first house?
That's what I was told by Ri'Shard. He got permission from his dad.
But you were never told that.
No.
We have a moment.
Of course.
Did anyone else, Mr. Ri'Shard's family, give you permission to take the car?
No.
And there were other family members there as well, correct?
I don't remember.
Okay, but no one else gave you permission?
No.
Have there been other instances where you've known Mr. Ri'Shard first and take the car without permission?
Objection, relevance.
Can we approach? Have there been other instances where you've known Mr. Ri'Shard first and take the car without permission?
Same objection.
Say it again.
Have there been other times that you have known Mr. Ri'Shard first and take the car without permission?
No, sir.
Nothing further.
Elijah said that he didn't directly hear Richard give Ri'Shard permission, but instead, Ri'Shard came back to the living room or the bedroom or wherever in the home that the other boys were with the keys to the Impala and said, "My dad gave me permission." I think that's a really key distinction. It's something that the defense can hang their hats on, or they can argue thoroughly, you know? The second passenger in this case, Anthony Callins, or Callins, also testified. So I want you to hear it from him.
Good morning, Mr. Callins. How are you?
Good. You?
Good, thank you. How old are you, sir?
17.
And you're not quite yet an 18-year-old adult. Do you understand that you're under oath while you testify here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that means that you are required to testify truthfully?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that if you don't, there would be consequences?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Richard Ferguson?
No. I guess question? Like father or son?
Richard, the son. Do you know?
Yes.
How long have you known Richard Ferguson?
A couple months while I went to school.
And were you involved were you in a car crash back on September 3rd of 2023?
Yes, sir. I was a passenger in the back seat.
Do you remember which side of the back seat you were in?
Behind driver.
And who was driving?
Ri'Shard.
And that's the son that you earlier testified you know, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
Nah. No, sir.
Let's talk about what was going on before you got in the car. Where were you before you first got into that car?
Ri'Shard's house.
And who was all there at Richard's house with you?
Me, Jaden, Ri'Shard, and Elijah.
Were there any adults present in the house?
Father, mom.
And when you say father, mom, whose father and mom are you talking about?
Ri'Shard's.
And what were you doing at Richard's house that day?
Chilling on the game, about to go out, watch a movie.
And was the original plan to go to that movie with Ri'Shard driving?
No, sir.
And how did that happen?
He said he was going to ask for the keys and we were going to get something.
And who did he ask for the keys?
Father.
And do you know, did Ri'Shard take the keys without permission or did he get permission?
He got permission.
And how do you know that his father gave him permission to drive the car?
Because father was outside present with us.
When we say outside present, where are you talking about specifically?
In the front yard when we got in the car.
Is there a garage and driveway?
Yes.
Is that where the car was?
Driveway.
And at some point in time, did Mr. Ferguson, the father, have to move a truck out of the way?
I don't really recall. It was a long time ago.
Do you recall giving a statement to Corporal Bonner about a month after the crash happened on October 2nd, 2023?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Do you recall speaking to Corporal Bonner from the Florida Highway Patrol on October 2nd, 2023 about this incident after the crash happened?
Yes, sir.
Would reviewing a transcript of that conversation help you remember whether or not that Mr. Ferguson had to move a truck out of the way?
I would say that report would be more like rememberful, like because it was after that, it was closer towards the accident.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your answer?
I would say that report would be like more rememberful because it was closer after the accident.
When you guys all got in the car with Ri'Shard driving, was there anyone in the car who had a driver's license?
No, sir. I'm not sure. No, sir.
Were there any adults in the car?
No, sir.
Where did you guys go when you left Ri'Shard's house?
To my cousin's house,
Who's your cousin?
Elijah, to pick up a belt.
And when you left Elijah's house, where did you guys go?
To my house,
And after you left your house, who was driving at that point in time?
Ri'Shard.
And what happened when you left your house?
We were supposed to go straight back to his house, but he went to the park.
And after you were left the park, who was driving?
Ri'Shard.
What happened at that point in time?
We were supposed to be making a left to go home when he left the park, but for some reason he went right.
And what happened when he went right?
He was driving. I was looking at my phone. I looked up. He was going fast. I seen the car and I said, "Stop."
And what happened after that?
When I woke up, we were in the ditch. I had blood coming from my mouth, everything. We got out of the car. I think it was a lady that stayed somewhere, like where it happened. She came outside and helped us out the car and stuff like that.
So in between the time where you yelled at him to stop and you woke up in the ditch, were you able to determine if you had been in a car crash at that point in time?
When I got out of the car, yeah.
Much like Elijah McKnight's testimony, I believe that the prosecution called Anthony merely to establish the permission component. I will say this, Elijah to me appeared more docile, soft-spoken, just, matter of fact. And Anthony appeared to me like he really didn't want to be there and he was going to let everyone know he didn't want to be there. It doesn't really matter. These kids are still kids. No one's above the age of 18. But that's just something that I noticed in the differences between the two boys' testimony. Now let's carry on. Next up was the final passenger inside of Ri'Shard's vehicle, Jaden Joaquin.
Mr. Joaquin, how are you today?
Good.
How old are you?
17.
All right, so you're not quite an 18-year-old adult. You understand that you're under oath today, correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand that means you're required to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you fail to do so, there would be legal consequences?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know Richard Ferguson?
Yeah.
How do you know? Was that a yes?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you known Richard Ferguson?
About 4 years.
And how do you know him?
Middle school.
Were you involved in a car crash back on September 3rd, 2023?
Yes, sir.
Were you driving that car?
No.
Who was driving that car?
Sharp.
And what kind of car were you in?
I don't know, but it was a white car.
You say it was white? Was that yes?
Yes.
I just need you to speak a little louder, sir. Where were you guys before you got in the car crash?
Richard's house.
And who all was at Richard's house?
Me, Elijah, Anthony.
Was Ri'Shard present?
Me,
And what about his parents, Richard's parents?
yeah.
Was it both his mom and dad?
Yeah.
And what were you doing at Richard's house?
In his room playing a game.
And what was the plan while you were at Richard's house? What were you going to do later that day?
We just want to go to the movies.
And was the plan to go to the movies in a car that Ri'Shard was driving?
No.
How did that happen?
Elijah just needed to grab a belt from his house.
Did Ri'Shard take the car from the residence without permission?
I was in the room. He left out the room. I don't know if he asked permission or not, but he came back with the keys.
And where was the car parked?
The driveway.
At some point in time, did his dad come out in the driveway before you guys left?
Yeah, he told us to buckle up. Drive safe.
Did he ever tell you guys not to leave in the car?
No.
Did he ever say that he was going to go with you?
No.
Now on this one, defense might have gotten a little bit of headway, and that's just specifically because Jaden was like, I don't remember if Richard gave him permission. Okay, before we get into what the jury ultimately decided, I want to talk to you a little bit about the prosecution's rebuttal close.
Nowhere in the jury instructions is the state required to prove why Mr. Ferguson decided to let his son drive that day. And the jury instructions also tell you that you should not make your decision based on sympathy for any of the parties in this case. And so comments such as people having prayers or being remorseful are not evidence in this case. Defense counsel kept repeating that Mr. Ferguson never gave his son permission to drive the car, and that none of the witnesses who testified heard him give permission. They all told you, all three of them, Jaden, Anthony, and Elijah told them that Ri'Shard Ferguson had permission to drive that car. And they told you what they saw, witnessed, heard, to led them to believe that. Mr. Ferguson came out to the driveway with them. He saw them loading the car, told them to buckle up, told them to come back right back. Those are things that, from context, that people do when you give them your son permission to take the car. And let's be clear, telling Ri'Shard and his friends to buckle up is not a defense in this case. That doesn't absolve him of the culpable negligence of putting his unlicensed child in that car with 3 other children and sending him out on the roadway. Especially, and you can believe some or all of the testimony in this case, and Mr. Ferguson, not all of his testimony was incredible. He testified just like everyone else did. Anthony, Ri'Shard, Jaden, and Elijah were all at the house. That they all asked to go, that they needed to go to Elijah's house for Elijah to get a belt. So we know he's admitted that part of the story is true, but the part that he doesn't want to be true is the part that he's denied. And that's what everybody else is saying, that he gave permission to his son to drive. That he knew his son was unlicensed, and Mr. Ferguson was very evasive in his answers. He kept kind of switching it up when confronted with his own answers. But we know from the 3 children, we know from Michelle Torres, that he gave his son permission to drive. Michelle Torres heard him admonish his son for not doing as was instructed. She did not hear him admonish him for stealing the car. And we know he didn't steal the car because Mr. Ferguson didn't act like his son stole the car. He didn't call 911. He was literally in a vehicle that he had just moved out of the driveway when supposedly his son stole the other vehicle right out in front of him. He knew where Elijah's house was. He could have driven behind him in addition to calling him. The children all testified. We stopped at Elijah's house. We stopped at Anthony's house. We stopped at Deerwood Park. 3 opportunities where if Mr. Ferguson really thought his son had stolen the car, could have intervened either by confronting them himself with his other vehicle, which he was able to get to the scene pretty quickly after the fact. But he didn't do anything that you would expect one to do when your son, who has no permission to drive, has no experience driving, has just stolen your car. There is no credible evidence in this case that suggests anything other than the defendant gave his son permission to drive the car, let him go on the public roadways where there are other drivers, putting Ri'Shard and his passengers at risk, the driving public at risk, and ultimately resulting in the deaths of Anayari Hernandez-Morcillo, Trinidad Hernandez, Marvin Cruz, and Miley Cruz. When you review the evidence, you will find that he is guilty beyond reasonable doubt.
I believe the prosecutor's name here is Brian C. Hagner, and I will tell you that I think he made some very valid points. Because what he's saying is, okay, Richard, let's assume what you're saying is true, and let's assume that your son did not have permission to drive your vehicle. What steps did you take following the son stealing the vehicle, because that's what you're claiming happened, to report the stolen vehicle? You didn't call police. You didn't report the vehicle. Matter of fact, one step further, you even moved another vehicle out of the driveway and out of his way so he could take the vehicle. And on top of that, most of your son's friends who were passengers in that vehicle that night said that you gave the son permission. So what are we talking about here? I didn't see the state's first close, but I think that this rebuttal close was actually pretty good. But let's see what the jurors decided.
In the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit and for Osceola County, Florida, case number 49-2025 CS 507. State of Florida versus Richard Seymour Ferguson. As to the verdict for count 1, we the jury find the defendant guilty of count 1 manslaughter. As to count 2, we the jury find the defendant guilty of count 2 manslaughter. As to count 3, we the jury find the defendant guilty of count 3 manslaughter. As to count 4, we the jury find the defendant guilty of count 4 manslaughter. So state the all dated at Kissimmee, Osceola County, Florida on this 29th day of October 2025, signed by the foreperson.
You may be seated. Does either side wish for the jury to be polled by juror badge number?
So it took the jury about 2 hours to reach their ultimate verdicts. And what they said was Richard was guilty of all 4 counts of manslaughter. This case is really unfortunate, and it's unfortunate for all parties involved. And what I will tell you is this. When I first learned of this case, I knew that this was the perfect case to share with you guys so you can see how different states do different charging decisions. But I also knew it was perfect because I felt like it would cause a lot of conversation. I want to know what you guys think about the Florida prosecutors charging Richard to begin with. I want to know if you think that Ri'Shard and his sentence here that I explained to you, the staying in juvenile detention until he's 19, followed by 2 years of supervision, was appropriate. I want to know if you think that the jurors got it right. But let me tell you all of my opinions first. I think, technically, based on the statutes we read, that the prosecutors had the leeway to charge Richard. So as I said earlier, I don't think they did anything wrong by charging him. And I also feel like, technically again, by the statutes we read, I do think that the jurors came to the right conclusion. I think it's just a sad case all around because now 4 people lost their lives as a result of this. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say 5 because I'll include Richard in this. I believe last I checked, Richard was like 68 or 69 years old. So even if the court decides to sentence him to 15 years, which is the maximum on a second-degree felony in Florida, and just do 15 as to each count, but run it concurrently, meaning all together, so 115 instead of 60 total, for all intents and purposes, it's a life sentence. He's 68 or 69. This case touched me so much that I talked to so many friends and family members about it. My first question to my mom was, Ma, would you rather me be charged as an adult, if that's a possibility, or would you rather do the life sentence for me? And she said, I'd rather do the life sentence for you. Because at 68, my life's almost over and yours is just beginning. I want you to live one. And that was very sweet. But also, I talked to some of my prosecutor friends about this, and I said, these are the facts. I'm giving you nothing more than the facts. Tell me what state it occurred in. And everyone unequivocally said, somewhere in the South, I'm going Florida or Texas. And I was like, okay, all right, okay. And that's just because we know some of the charging decisions in those states are just interesting. But that's it. That's enough of me yapping. That's enough of me going on and on and on. Let me know whatever it is you need to let me know down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.